Andrew Williamson here. Welcome back to Williamson Education. Today we're going to embark on a new unit about what is currently one of the most hotly debated topics in the English language, pronouns. As I speak now in 2024, I don't think there's any part of speech in English that receives more attention than the pronoun does. That's because certain pronouns in our language are gender marked, meaning that they vary according to the assumed gender of the person they refer to. Unlike in, say, French, where gender marking is extremely common, gender marking in English is relatively limited. Our nouns in English are not gender marked as they are in Romance languages. That means that as gender gets examined and re-examined in academic and popular culture, so too do our pronouns come squarely into focus for renewed scrutiny and attention. Broadly speaking, the re-examination of English language gender marking has to do with the fact that using personal pronouns in the third person often requires the speaker to make an assessment of the gender of the person they are referring to. If I want to talk to you about my mom, I would refer to my mom as a she. If I want to talk to you about my dad, I would refer to him as a he. I've made an assessment about the genders of these two third persons who are so very important to me. And I can safely assess their preferred pronouns because I know them and their preferences well. But the correct language can be less clear when we come into contact with other third persons whom we know less well than, say, our parents. Without going into great detail about current questions in language change, I would like to say that there is nothing necessary about the gender marking of third-person pronouns in a language. In spoken Mandarin Chinese, for example, the third person sounds identical for both male and female marked pronouns, ta and ta. Although the characters are written slightly differently and do show gender marking, the fact of their identical pronunciation points out this very crucial point. It is very well possible for speakers of a language to reserve judgment on the genders of their speaking partners. Perhaps we can innovate a similar solution for English. Whatever your personal view of these questions, there is no denying the fact. Pronouns are a hot topic today. The pronouns I have been referring to in this opening discussion are all called personal pronouns, meaning that they refer to persons. The world of pronouns is larger than just personal pronouns, though, as we will learn in later lessons in this unit. Pronouns can also refer to non-human things in the world, both abstract and concrete nouns. Take the pronouns it and them, for example. Often we use these pronouns to indicate and replace objects in sentences. I'll have more to say about the different types of pronouns down the road. For now, I would like to touch on what is perhaps the most important topic in evaluating pronoun usage. That topic is pronoun reference. As I've already suggested, pronouns are used to refer to and replace other things in sentences and paragraphs. Our pronouns are used most often to avoid repeating information that has already been given. For instance, imagine the following sentence. Andrew was tired, so Andrew brushed his teeth and went to bed. Now, I like my name and I'm happy to have it, but there is no need to repeat the name already stated at the beginning of the sentence. Repeating this name is inefficient, meaning that it is not the best use of my speaking or writing energy. Instead, I use a pronoun in the second half of the sentence to refer back to and replace the proper noun Andrew that comes in the first half. Andrew was tired, so he brushed his teeth and went to bed. Ah, much better. The personal pronoun he makes all the difference. The sentence sounds so much better now. The thing is this, though. Problems can arise with pronouns when it is not clear what or whom they refer back to. In my example sentence, all is well with my pronoun reference because there is only one person in the sentence that the pronoun he could possibly refer back to and replace. Me, Andrew. The person or thing that a pronoun refers back to and replaces has a special name. It is called an antecedent. Andrew is the antecedent in the sentence I have just spoken. In other cases, you will find that speakers and writers of English language sentences are not as precise with their pronoun reference. They will speak and write sentences using pronouns that could refer back to multiple possible antecedents, or their pronouns will have no proper antecedent at all. Unclear pronoun reference also has a technical name that is important to know. It's called pronoun ambiguity. You want in all instances to avoid pronoun ambiguity. Every time I use a pronoun in my speaking or writing, I do a mental check. Who is the person or what is the thing that my pronoun refers back to and replaces? Is that person or thing reasonably clear to my audience? Has the antecedent been directly stated in my earlier speech or writing? Is that antecedent relatively close to the pronoun that I use, such that a reasonable audience would not struggle to see the connection between the pronoun and the antecedent? If the answer to these questions is yes, then great, you're well on your way to correct pronoun usage. If the answer is no, then you will need to clarify your pronoun reference in order to avoid ambiguity. I do want to be clear about one point. Some personal pronouns function with slightly different rules for antecedents. When I use the pronoun I, for example, I do not need to specify my antecedent. It's me, Andrew, the guy talking to you right now. Or let's say there are only two of us here and I use the pronoun you. I likely do not need to specify my antecedent before using the pronoun. You know what I mean. It's you, the person watching this lesson, the audience of my communication. When it comes to the third person pronouns, though, more ambiguities tend to arise. That's why I focus my attention on third person pronouns and clarity. It will not surprise you to hear that third person pronouns such as he, she, it, and they are the most frequently debated pronouns and the ones most subject to pronoun ambiguity. Another thing that will not surprise you is that not all grammarians will agree 100% on what constitutes an ambiguous pronoun. Some grammarians might find a given pronoun ambiguous, while others might find that same pronoun to be perfectly clear in its reference. One of the most important points I have been trying to communicate in these lessons is that the English language was not born with a single, definitive user manual that lays out all of the rules I have been describing in this series. English is full of exceptions to the rules, as we have seen repeatedly along our journey together. Its rules also shift with time. I like to think about this glorious, diverse language of ours as composed of tectonic plates. It is constantly in motion ever so slightly, even when the motion is too little for us to perceive. Occasionally, the motion becomes so strong and so sudden that an earthquake occurs. I think it's safe to say that there is a pronoun earthquake taking place at the moment. As for me, I applaud the arrival of gender-neutral pronouns in English for those who would like to use them. In other matters, though, I am more traditional in my tendencies. I am quite strict about clear pronoun reference, for example. If there is even a hint of ambiguity in a pronoun-antecedent relationship, I will tend to specify my meaning by reconstructing the syntax of my sentence. I call upon my students to do the same. Why? Because I am a firm believer that the role of language is to structure and communicate human cognition, or thinking. Many schools and classes profess to teach you how to think. But what does this promise actually mean? It is my firm belief that there is no better way to learn clear, precise, accurate thought processes than to study language usage. Maybe there will come a day when we no longer need to speak or write, when we will be able to convey ideas to others simply by imagining them. That would be an interesting development. But even the visual imagination has its limits. There is such a thing as logic, which we use to establish complex relationships between ideas and to shape our thought in ways that even the imagination cannot replace. Pronouns are an essential part of that shaping, that structuring of complex ideas in logical relations. The word logic has an interesting etymology, by the way. It comes from the Greek word logos, which literally means word. You heard that right. Logical thought is quite literally thought that takes place in words. And what better reason could you have for studying the English language than that one? Well, that's enough philosophy for now. I'll look forward to seeing you right back here for our next lesson. Spread the word.